NFL version of Christianity, right? Or like the Gladiator. I like that. It's now my favorite song. I didn't know that part was. That's good. That's good. Now, we're not going to ask Lorena to do that quite yet. But someday. Let's see. I have about 10 minutes tops to chat with you. And so it's called a reflection. This isn't me preaching, teaching, or anything. I'm just going to reflect. And you go, is it any different? Not really. But it was interesting, though, this past week, I got a chance to go out and hang out with Janie. And so when she kind of like quieted down, I thought, yes, I still got it. Because Janie was silent. I mean, just nothing. And for an hour. And there's kind of nothing. You have the gift. You got it. But what I was, of course, the flood of emotion comes back when you only have daughters like me, and you're holding a little girl. It's like, wow, I remember so many nights of, I was the night guy. Like I don't sleep that much, so it works really well. God kind of designed me that way to have babies at night and rock them and change them and clean them and attach them and take them off and do, once again, do the whole deal, But I just remember, the little ones, Lindsay was 3 or 4 when I met her, so she was too big to kind of carry. I just remember the little ones, rocking them and singing to them at night and thinking, God, I so want this child to grow up to know your incredible love. And I want her to grow up in such a way that, there's a potential for your life. And those of us who are older, we realize how much we kind of missed that. Like we were shooting for this. And if we kind of missed. And that's life. We didn't quite attain what we thought we were going to attain. But with a new child, you have that promise of this one might reach their potential. If they stay close to God, and if God infuses them with His Spirit and power and guidance, and they are open to it, this child might just, read the passage from Genesis. Yahweh formed man from the dust of the ground, breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Now, if you read a lot of versions of the Bible, it always says, and man became a living being. Here's the important thing. In the original language, that's not a being, it's not a person, it's a soul. Nefesh is the word for soul. And if you look in the Bible, soul is used more often for us than person. But because we don't use the word soul anymore, for whatever reason, our translations have just moved it on to, well, a human being or a person. But God made us as a soul. And here's why it's important, I think, because these days, we don't talk about soul when we talk about ourselves. We talk about the word self. Like if you're going to a job interview, or you're going to an audition, or you're going to perform in an athletic, you have to believe in yourself. If you're kind of sickly and you're not getting along too well, and health is down, you're kind of tired, you need to go take care of yourself. If you're going to go get a tattoo, and it's going to kind of reflect who you are, you go to express your... Well, you don't get a tattoo. Yeah, you go to express yourself. It's always about self. And yet the Bible rarely talks about self, because for me at least, I think a self is this unit that doesn't need anything else. It's self-contained, self-sufficient. Now, I know it's different right now because little Lorena and Janie, they're not very self-sufficient, would you say? In fact, they are the exact opposite of that. And for whatever reason, when we have a child, our goal is, our hope is, I think, at some point, I want to get them to be self-sufficient. And I've been struggling with that because I want them to become completely, 100% in need of or dependent upon God. And that's what a soul is. When God creates us as human or living souls, He doesn't create us as selves who are separated from Him. He wants us and designs us to be completely His. That's why it says that God is our God and we are His people. We are the sheep of His pasture. There is a connection there, a tight connection. And I think we've sort of lost that because we're so much more interested in becoming self-sufficient. And the problem is we become self-sufficient from God. And we were designed to be in connection, in a relationship with God, because we were designed by Him and for Him, and we run on the fuel of Him. And when we sort of drift away from Him, it becomes this life that we were never designed to live. And so I just love the idea of holding a child to think, right now, she is completely dependent on you. If you laid her down, within an hour, the poor thing would be just a mess. And where is it that we think that we grow up and become so good that we don't need God? I was thinking about how when someone comes to know God for the first time, so this is how it sort of works. You're born, and then you mess up a little bit, and then you kind of realize you've messed up, and then you cry out to God, and He says, "Hey, that's okay, I got you covered. My son Jesus took care of all that, and now we can have a friendship again, a relationship again. We were distant for a while, but now we're back." And it's just like, they describe it in the same terms. It's just like a newborn baby being born. And their desperate need for attachment to their mom, their dad. Our attachment to God is supposed to look like that. That's what it's supposed to. Here's an interesting thing. Now, that looks like an apostrophe, right? I was using the phrase Yahweh all the time. You've probably heard that before. It is like the real name for God. And that's the first letter. That's a Yod. And you learn some Hebrew here. That's a Hey, and then a Vav, and a Hey. It looks like God and me, right? It's actually the name that He gave Abraham when Abraham begged him, "Who is sending me? I'm going to go to Egypt, and they're not going to know who you are, and so what's your name?" And this is the personal name He gave him. We pronounce it Yahweh. You know what the Jewish people, they actually think it's the sound of breathing. Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. When you see a good rabbi doing it, he says, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. It's like breathing in and out. Now, I don't know, I wasn't there, but my guess is little Lorena came out, and if she wasn't crying, they gave her, a little pat or whatever, and then all of a sudden, the lungs fill with air, and the goal is to get her belting it out. And as a nurse, you want her to scream, and that's good. The idea is that breath is coming in and out. There are some people in the Jewish tradition who say that's not them crying; it's them for the first time crying out the name of God, breathing in and out, in and out. There will come a point in all of our lives where we will breathe our last breath. We will say God's name the last time, and then we'll see Him face to face. And in that time frame, our dependence on Him, or His nurturing of our soul as we're connected to Him, will really trajectory of our life. Whether it's going to be connected to Him or not. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. See, God knew us even before He created us. He knew us even before He created the world, the Bible says. And He wanted to know us. This connection. This idea of knowing our souls. My heart is not proud, Lord. My eyes are not haughty. I do not concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me. Here's a psalmist saying, you know what? I'm not as great as I thought I was. I'm not as self-sufficient as I thought I was. I need you. And then he describes his connection to God. I've calmed and quieted myself. I'm like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child, I am content. You've probably experienced that as well, right? There's a little bit of breathing, heavy, crying, and all of a sudden, fed and content and calm. Is our life supposed to look like that with God? When we're crotchety and crying out to God, are we supposed to be nurtured by Him in such a way that after that we'll be content? See, the beauty of being young parents is that you will go through this experience time and time again. And my prayer is that it will teach you what your relationship with God really is supposed to be like. That when you desperately need God, you cry out to Him, and He will feed you. He will nurture you. He will build up your soul to the place where you will be content. And it won't be about yourself, it will be about your soul. Great line by a friend I met years ago, who's passed on now. He says, if your soul is healthy, no external circumstance can destroy your life. If the inner world, if God's nurturing of your inner world is healthy, let anything come your way. I mean, grab a light of fire and go take off the demons. It's okay. Because God has your soul. He's nurturing you. He says, though, if your soul is unhealthy, no external circumstance can redeem. Meaning, I don't care what you go after in this life. Fame, fortune, stuff, relationships, it's not going to help. You're still going to have this emptiness in your soul. Last little phrase here. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? You know, as a preacher dude, we always use this passage for somebody who's going to, you know, we don't know Jesus yet, and so we need you to get to know Jesus. Sorry, that's just, you saw behind the veil, behind the curtain, that's what we use. The more and more I see this passage and the way Jesus uses it, I think it's not exactly just about salvation, about you coming to know Jesus if you're far from Him. It's not about, well, you're too rich and you have too much stuff and all that, and if you keep going that way, you're going to go to hell. I don't think that's what it means. I think it's what Jesus is talking about. He's saying, and we all have this. We have this external life, right? We have our appearance, we have our jobs and all the stuff we have. We have a reputation, we have our accolades with people who think, and that's all external. And then we have stuff that's going on in our inner world. Like our thoughts, our fears, our goals, our desires. And sometimes we never share those. Those are inside, and we're the only ones who know about it. I think what Jesus is saying is that if we focus on all of the external things of our life and forget about nurturing our soul, eventually our soul is going to dry up and wither away. I wish I would have had this. Little Mermaid, right? Poor unfortunate souls. Those little, they're people, and they look okay, and then they just down with nothing. You would never want your soul to look like that. So here's my challenge. I want you to become like a baby. Huh? Right? Some of you are thinking, no. I think you need to be like a baby. I think you need to realize that you are not self-sufficient, that you are desperately in need of God, and your soul may be a little withered because you focus on the external part of your life. And when you do that, your life tends to go down. But if you'll connect with God the way a baby connects with its mother and be nourished, your soul will come back to life. And regardless of whether good things or bad things are going on outside, your inner life will be flourishing. Paul said, you know what? It doesn't matter if everything outside is withering away. In fact, it feels like it is. My body is deteriorating. Everything on the outside, all of the stuff against me is just growing. But my God is continually nourishing me and growing me from the inside. And for that, I realize it's all I need. Let's pray. Father, thank you for giving us pictures